Welcome everyone to the second episode of the BS Cast. Today I am joined by my good buddy Rock. Introduce yourself and plug in whatever you want.
Hello, people of the internet.
Hello, people of the internet. Where can they find you if they want to find you, by the way?
You can find me where I usually play like Black Ops or The Division. What? Yeah.
I mean like YouTube channel, you doofus. Or like
Oh,
Instagram
YouTube channel.
or something like that, you doofus.
Well, you can Gerber was it Gerber 345?
Jerbear?
Gerber 345. My name is my real name is Jared Martinez. Just to let you all know.
He's Mexican. I hope that doesn't send anyone away.
I live in California. I am not illegal.
This is your chance to call ICE. Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
Send him away.
Stay away, ICE.
I get a guitar if he gets deported. Just do it. So anyways, let's get to the point. Today in the BS Cast, we're going to be talking about Division 2 and why I think it's a great game. And Jared will have some more, Rock here will have some more input to put in because he played a lot of the first game and then played the second game. I played a little bit of the first game. Like my buddy Persia, which you know, Hybrid Spectre, he was in the last cast. He convinced me to get it like really late into the game, and I played it, and they carried me through, and I had fun. It was decent, but this game I really sunk my teeth into, and I've been having a really good time. So, anyways, you got anything to add there, Jared?
I admit for the Division 2, I would say that Ubisoft finally listened to the public and actually fixed some things. Even though it's still at its almost at its second week phase, there's still some bugs to fix, but eventually they'll fix that. So, and I believe there's going to be a lot of good content coming up.
Oh yeah. And for some reason your mic is lagging on my end. It's probably my internet, but we'll fix it in post.
No worries.
we'll figure it out. But anyways, yeah, we're going to be talking about. So you're saying there's some problems with the game, and
no, I would say for problems, is just bugs. There's a bit of like you're walking through some kind of physical objects that you're able to do with your character, but for some reason like you can't jump over. Sometimes there's like some invisible walls. Like it's very weird bugs, but just hopefully they'll finally fix it with a patch.
I think that might be you because I actually haven't ran into anything like that yet.
Really?
Yeah, so I think the game just hates you. It was good for me because usually the game hates me. Usually the game hates my guns, so step up.
I think that just turned the tables for me in the Division.
Oh, yeah. All right. And to explain what the Division 2 is, this is basically going to be kind of like a before you buy, and we're going to list the pros and cons of this game, of course. And
yeah.
And I personally really been enjoying Division 2. The difference between the first game and this game is not much. The game mechanics are pretty much the same. Would you say so, Jared?
Yeah, I would say so. It's just basically in a different environment. Like, we were originally in New York, and now we're transferred over here in Washington, D.C. For any of you that want to know a little bit of the lore, that for our character back in New York, that was kind of like the start of the virus that was happening in the story. For DC, it's kind of like months later, and we're just kind of seeing like the ruins and the rebuild of Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah. And so apparently when the, from what I understand, when the virus spread, it actually spread a little bit farther than just New York, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it actually spread to actually the entirety of the United States because I got to finish up the story. For any of you that don't want to hear any spoilers, I would probably skip a little bit of this part, is that apparently, in the final mission of this, not the entirety of the campaign, but a little part of the campaign, that there's a cutscene in there that shows that you are connected to the Isaac network nationwide, and apparently you get a connection with a division agent in Los Angeles. And apparently, you are now going to try to help them out. So I have a big feeling since that cutscene is in this campaign, I wonder if it's a possibility that we might get transferred to the west coast of the division, and that might be the third game.
We'll be on your home turf, Rock.
It'll be my home turf, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Except for, gangbangers will be killing beach bums, but that's a completely different.
Yeah, no. Instead of us being in a forest or in a snowy place, we'll finally fight at the beach.
At the beach, with evil sharks and all that kind of stuff.
That's just a theory for me. That's for me. That's a theory.
Or maybe future DLCs. You never know with this game, but yeah. But that's actually a spoiler to me because I haven't finished the campaign. Wait, what level are you now, Rock?
Yeah, I am at level 27 right now.
Oh, you suck, man. What? Here's the deal. I've been trying to keep up with this guy so we can join up, squad up every now and then. But his and I schedules are completely off, so we're never on at the same time. And I've been trying to keep up with him, and then one day it's like I'm only 2 levels behind him. Like, yeah, I'm good. 2 days later, I'm level 27. Ah, son of a... It's bullcrap. Anyways, and Disclosure, I'm like level 15 in the game right now. I've been really enjoying it. I've played about maybe half the campaign. I'm really grinding for things. But to anyone who has never played Division ever, we're gonna give you a rundown of what the game is. It's what is it called? A RPG? A looter shooter? It's a looter shooter.
It's not an RPG. It's considered a looter shooter. Basically.
I'm not very diverse in my gaming vocabulary, so I apologize.
That's okay. It's basically kind of like how would you say it? Like looter shooter kind of raid style. Well, and that's another thing I want to talk about is the raids. The first raid we're going to be getting for the year 1.
Yeah, when is that coming, by the way? Like the first DLC or something like that?
It's not going to be coming the first DLC. It's going to be like what Destiny used to be like. So let me.
You mean like 5 days after the game comes out or something like that?
Yeah, but this time I believe it's going to be coming out either this coming week or next week.
Oh, I am nowhere near level to be doing that.
So to give you a rundown of the raids that's going to be.
Before we go to the highest, that's like the highest level of play. Let's start at the beginning. What is the game from the beginning? The very start of the game, you start out with a regular, gun, pistol, and then you play the first mission, then you unlock your second slot of weapons. So basically, you have 2 primary weapons and a handgun, and then you can unlock one gadget, I believe. Right? Is that right? And that can be any of the gadgets. I personally picked the shield because I was a shield operator back in the first game, and each gadget has a different role to it. And I've been having fun with a lot of them. And which one do you use, Rock? What was your first one?
My first weapons?
First gadget.
Oh, my first gadget. I would say my first gadget was the Secret Mine because that was like my favorite when I played the beta.
Of course it is. You just like blowing people up.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what that is, and you start up the game, and eventually you unlock the second gadget with like one more story mission, and you can unlock your second gadget, and you can have 2 gadgets equipped at all times to use. And I went Riot Shield and I went Chem Launcher, and I'm basically a way to heal myself and an aggressive way to approach my enemies. But something a little bit different than the other games is usually like. Personally, like in the first game, the Riot Shields, there was a Bulwark Riot Shield that basically gave you a lot of help. The next one was like more damage. It was still a full shield, but it gave you more damage and faster reload on your pistol. And the last one, I'm not quite sure what it did, but basically the different variants. In this game, specifically, the Riot Shields, the Bulwark one was full shield, big, use a handgun. Second one is a primary, like a half shield, where you could deflect bullets, but you also use your primary weapon, which is like an assault rifle, an SMG, or something like that. So very handy if you want to be more aggressive and protect yourself a little bit. And the last one is the deflector shield that basically bounces the bullets off of it, like ricocheting back at the enemies, which is actually pretty fun to do. So there's a lot more diversity in the gadgets classes and all that kind of stuff. Um, with rock seeker mines, you can have like cluster, air. What was it? Air launcher. You explain
Yeah,
that.
you, yeah. For the seeker mines, there's your regular seeker mine, which you could just basically track down the enemies. It's like a tracking grenade, basically.
Mhm.
The other one is it's multiple seekers that you can do, which are like the miniature versions of them, but you can still do some pretty good damage. And ones they could just jump in the air and explode midair.
Yes, and one thing I'm starting to learn from this game though is I don't think all the gadgets are created equal. Where you know what I mean by that, Rock? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do agree with that because I believe in this game, I believe the developers wanted to do something more diverse and more something different than what they have created back then because I felt like back in the first game, it kind of felt very limited. But I believe with this game, I believe they had more ideas, and I think it worked out.
But the gadgets felt powerful in the first one though, did they not? Like with the
The
shield,
gadgets
I
did
felt
feel,
powerful.
yeah, the gadgets did feel actually both games, both Division One and the second one, they both feel powerful, which is good.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I kind of feel like Division Two has the better gadgets because they're more diverse. There's more gadgets for us to use in the second one than there was back in the first game.
Yes, and by the way, I don't know if you guys will be looking at the thumbnails that I got set up in front of my screen, or I'll put gameplay in front of this. But if I do have gameplay, I'll probably show the gadgets at some point. But the reason why I say not all the gadgets are created equal is I like using the gadgets, but some of them have such a long cooldown. It's irritating. It's super irritating. And you know what? With the right shield, I don't mind a long cooldown because if they break it, I think it makes sense for it to take a long time to come back. But with the right shield, if they don't break it, you can put it away and it'll regen, and you'll be perfectly fine. You can pull it out again. But for like the hive gadget, which is basically it can heal you. You throw basically like a grenade on the ground, and it heals a wide area, or it can revive you, or it can attack enemies. It can do a lot of things, or it can boost your allies so you do more damage. But it has such a long cooldown. I mean, it like how long? It's like 167 seconds, and I don't want to wait 3.5 minutes. Well, not three, 2.5 minutes for my gadget to come back. I think I got that wrong. But that's a long time to use a gadget for 15 seconds. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, well, that's another thing that I learned that the better your gear is, along the way, the higher you are, the better gear you get. What I found out was that since I'm level 27, was that there's more cooldowns for your devices.
so it lowers the cooldown when you get better gear.
Yeah, it will lower damage for you, so I think
Okay,
it's pretty useful.
so that pet peeve will eventually be alleviated. So that's good.
Almost, yeah, alleviated, yeah.
I think they can lower down the a little bit more though, because how long's the cooldown for the seeker mine?
For the Seeker Mine is 1 minute for each one.
That does feel a long time, but I guess that does a lot of damage. So, eh,
It does actually, yeah.
so I
And
think that makes
since you
sense.
get to choose, well, yeah, and since you get to choose the people of which you want to blow up, so
Yeah, yeah, and a good example of that, like I like using the right shield and the chem launcher because they have very low fast cooldowns type of deal, or like they're very
yes.
good. But like I said, the hive thing, I haven't used the turret, but there's a drone. The drone takes like 2.5 minutes to come back. The little the other thing I forgot what it's called, like a little airplane thing. I forgot what it is, but that has like a
It, it's
a minute and a
it's
half
or it's
cooldown.
like it's what they call it a firefly.
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's once again the gadgets are very diverse, but in my personal experience, it feels like I have to wait too long for my abilities to come back to use them again. Which I guess is fine because luckily for us is we'll move on from gadgets to the gunplay. Is I think they got the gunplay pretty spot on. I enjoy it. You got
Oh
anything to
yeah.
add to that?
Um, I would say that for any of you that like the sniper rifles or the LMGs back in Division One, I gotta say they're much better in Division Two. I'm gonna say that.
The sniper rifles are too.
Yeah, the sniper rifles feel much better.
I've been
Like
having a hard
they
time with
used
the
to be
sniper
great.
rifles, but I agree with the LMGs though. The LMGs feel great. That's my
Oh yeah,
main weapon.
they did change. I do want to add that they did change a couple of the weapons that we used to know back in Division One, like the Locombe. It used to be a marksman rifle. I think it's now considered a what would you say?
Assault rifle, sniper rifle, SMG,
No, just a rifle. They just call it a rifle.
a marksman rifle. Wait,
No, well, here's the thing: is that okay? Let's list off the stuff that they have, or the class of weapons that they have. So they have the assault classes,
yeah, assault
the
rifles,
SMGs,
SMGs, yeah.
sniper rifles, yeah, the LMGs, marksman rifles, and sniper rifles, and just rifles.
Wait,
That's another thing they
just
added.
rifles? They have marksman rifles and rifles?
Okay, here, let me give you an example. I picked up an was it a instead of an M1 Garand, it's the one that
This
has the
M1
clip.
Grand. That's awesome. I want an M1 Grand. I'm
For
sorry,
some
I'm like
reason, they
fanboying, but yeah, continue.
no, what's it called? Instead of the M1 Garand, instead it has the clip underneath, or the
Oh,
magazine
oh,
underneath the rifle.
that's an M14. Yeah.
That's an M14. Yeah, okay, that's what I have in my inventory right now. But they consider it a rifle, not anything else. Not a marksman rifle, not a sniper rifle. No, it's just a rifle.
That's weird. I haven't noticed that. All right. Um, yeah. Well, how does it perform differently than a marksman rifle then?
Well, a marksman rifle is considered more of a little bit of a sniper. It leans towards of a sniper, but for a rifle, it's kind of you could say it's like a semi-automatic rifle.
So a marksman rifle, but not a marksman rifle. That's what I'm hearing.
It's very confusing how they got that or how they list these weapons. I was like,
I have
what?
not. No, I have to check it out when I log on to that. That's a bit strange in my mind. But yeah. Yeah, that's really weird. But yeah, there's also shotguns in this game.
Oh
What
yeah, the
else?
shotguns do feel good. Yeah, I would say they outdone themselves with their shotguns.
It feels better, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I typically don't use shotgun. Typically, my setup is a marksman rifle and an LMG. I really love the LMG. But and the new thing they added, and let's mention the new thing. I haven't unlocked this. I don't even think you unlocked this yet. But when you hit level 30, you can unlock one of three weapons. You want to explain that?
Oh yeah. So these what you call the specialists. So three specialists that we have right now is the sniper, the grenade launcher, and the crossbow. For any of you that want to know what the crossbow does, if you all recall from for any of you that played Black Ops 2, a crossbow, randomly, but if you have to stick it to somebody, it explodes.
Yes.
And
Oh, excuse me.
sniper rifle, no worries. For the sniper rifle, it's pretty like high-end rounds, almost like if you were to encounter a boss that has pretty high shield. I would say that, and I've seen gameplay of this. I've played a couple of people that have already the specialists. Is that it could take down a shield and half of their health.
Really? I'm just
The,
on a purple
that
guy? No.
sniper, no, for a yellow,
Well,
for a yellow
that's
boss.
really impressive then. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty high DPS for that sniper
And
rifle.
personally, I think that's
And
what I'm gonna go for. But yeah, you keep explaining. Keep explaining.
for the grenade launcher, it's pretty high explosive damage, and its blast radius is pretty large. So I gotta say, I would watch out. Well, for any of you that likes to play PvP uh, for
don't
the division,
don't blow
don't
yourself up.
just yeah, just watch out for anybody that uses the grenade launcher, because I've already encountered a couple of people that did that used their specialist on me. Man, they took down my health so much.
I haven't played the PvP mode yet. Actually, how is it? I haven't even touched it. I've been having too
I
much
gotta
fun in the open
say,
world.
well, I gotta say the PvP is much better than the first game, because there were a lot less people that played in the first game, the PvP mode. But Well, I know what. Let me retract those words. There was a community that loved to play the PvP of the first division.
But it was very
I would
small, I'm
say
guessing.
it was very small, yeah. But I would say now it's much
That's
better
good.
PvP in the Division 2.
That's always good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have never been into a dark zone, but you want to explain how dark zones are different in this game?
All right.
Or
Well,
oh,
for any of you that don't know a dark zone, let me start off with that. So for a dark zone, it's basically a very high risk, high reward place. And I gotta say, it's pretty good. But here's the thing, I was disappointed when I found out about this was that the dark zones are separate in Division 2 in Washington, D.C. Whereas where we were used to back then in Division 1, where what's it called?
yeah, it was a
There was
big chunk on
just
the map, right?
it was just a big chunk, but it was like in sections basically. It was still all together.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing that they're separate, but at the same time, I would say it is still the high risk, high reward place.
Yes. It makes it easier to survive the dark zone, though, right?
Yeah, I would say yes.
All right, because I hear from people all the time like they go in the dark zone by themselves, and they're basically screwed if they run into a squad. That's what I hear about all the time.
I would
And
say for this dark zone. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, wait, what?
Uh, I was about to say, the dark zone, I would say for the Division 2 is actually a little bit easier to survive. It's just that you just gotta still watch yourself for rogue agents still, or
Of
for any
course.
like high-end guys. When I first played the dark zone for the first time in Division 2, I was like, let's just see how this goes. I had a little bit of a heart attack at first because I didn't know what I was gonna expect from
Right.
this.
Oh, and something you
But
forgot to mention is to anyone who never played a division. Well, you probably learned about this anyways. But Dark Zone is high risk, high reward. And high risk because there are tough enemies there, but also other players that go into the Dark Zone can kill you for your loot.
yeah, which are basically called rogue agents.
Rogue agents, and you could go rogue yourself. You just have to shoot the enemy, and you guys don't have to shoot each other. You can even work together with a random group of people. I think is that right?
Yes, so you could go with a random group in the dark zone, and all of a sudden you guys can turn rogue and just go up against the players that are inside that dark zone area and just try to steal their loot.
Mhm.
And I would say is that, and I've tried doing being rogue in the first game. It was kind of worth it because you don't know what kind of loot you're going to be getting from other players. You don't know if they're going to be better.
Mhm.
But in the end, it's kind of fun at the same time, but really risky because you're still facing up against an entire server.
Yeah. So high risk, high reward. It's kind of like the PvP PvE, or I'm having a stroke while saying that. Player versus enemy versus player. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And high risk, high reward. I have never done it myself in the first game. I haven't done it in this game. I'm only level 15 once again. So, and I'm going to give it a try when I finally get there. I'll probably squad up with Rocky so I don't die immediately. But that's a different story. So let's see. What else did
Yeah.
we miss? We talked about gunplay and how enemies enemies don't feel as squishy in this game. I have noticed that though, because in the first game it felt like I am a mountain and I am bulletproof, trying to kill me, type of deal.
Yeah, that's actually that's one thing Ubisoft noticed was that there was too many bullet sponge enemies that were in the first game, and I think they finally realized that they finally fixed it, basically.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
can we pause the recording?
right now, no, we're going. Invite your family in. Invite your family in. Do it. And
Hold on, give me
Fireball,
a second.
I am gonna cut recording.
Let's continue. I'm
We'll
sorry.
continue. We obviously did not pause the podcast just so Darren can go and reminisce about life for a second. He had a Vietnam flashback. That's what we're gonna go with. And he tried to kill his
Let's
family with a
continue.
shoe with a. Yeah, never mind. Enough bull crapping. All right, where were we? We were talking about something. I don't remember what. Um, I don't remember. One thing I'm going to praise about this game, though, and I think it's pretty. I don't think it's like I think other games did it too, but there's one thing I always praised about this game, and it's the cover system in I really like it. It's like super intricate and nice where you can hold down X. You can look anywhere you want and hold down X and you will run to that location and take cover. And that's one of my favorite things about this game because you can move around the map pretty fluidly and it's very
Yeah,
nice. I don't know if you guys say anything about it.
I
Um,
would say the cover system is still the same like back in Division 1, which is good. They didn't get rid of it or changed it. It's still the same way. But I would kind of want to change subjects and go into the NPCs that are in this game, which
how dare
I
you
think
change
is
subject?
really.
How dare this is my podcast. We talk about what I want to. All right, yeah, NPCs. Go ahead.
So what's interesting about these NPCs is that back then they in the Division 1 they didn't do anything, but now in this game they actually do something.
Yeah,
Like they
they
can
shoot back,
actually
right? Yeah, they shoot back.
shoot back and actually damage the enemy.
They're good distractions too. Wait, yeah, that's a new thing in this game. Is what are they called? They're kind of like enemy bases that you can conquer, kind of like in Far Cry. That's a new thing in this game, is it
Oh
not?
yes, yeah. Oh, okay. Actually, let's actually. I want to actually talk about the enemy factions first, but so we can like
Uh,
explain more of these. Yeah, because I want to kind of like introduce them.
I only know two
It,
factions. Are there more than that?
so the factions that we have right now, which are called the hyenas. Then we have true sons, which are kind of like the military kind of guys.
Yeah, so you got
The
gangbangers and
military,
militaries. That's basically what it is.
the military fanatics, I should be saying.
Yes.
Let's see. And then you have the outcasts, which are basically kind of like the diseased kind of enemy faction. And I would also like to say is that once you reach level 30 and you finally got your specialist, there is another faction that pops up out of nowhere, and I forgot the name of the faction, but I would say they're almost like the very heavy military type of people. Like, and I mean they bring in robots to the fight.
So they're like true sons, but even more military-like.
Like they're like true sons, but more deadlier.
All right. Okay. And that just I haven't gotten that far. I haven't even met the disease guys yet. It's only been hyenas and true sons for me so far. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, that basically was going on. But
no worries.
wait, what? Yeah, yeah. Move on to control points, if you will.
So we have these new objectives now, which are called control points or territory controls or public executions. They also like to call it as well.
Huh.
Um, so one thing is that you have these different activities throughout DC, which you get to do, and they don't really feel repetitive. Well, they're the same ones on each like areas that you find, but they don't feel as much repetitive as they used to back in like the same activities that we do back in Division 1. They feel very repetitive over and over and over again. But I feel like the activities, even the side missions, even feel like they're not repetitive. They kind of feel a bit different in their own.
And they're pretty good rewards after that because you unlock when you succeed in doing one, you unlock a armory and you can loot a bunch of stuff and all that kind of jazz. It's very nice.
Yeah, the supply rooms. So yeah,
Yes.
they really give you some good stuff.
And they also give you a fast travel location, so that's good. And uh, to sum it up, what it is basically it's kind of like Far Cry. If anyone ever played a Far Cry game, is there are enemy bases. You go in and you have to take care of the enemies. And there's two ways you can do it. Well, there's really one way, but you can go in alone, or you can go in and call reinforcements. And you should honestly just be doing calling in reinforcements all the time because that's the way you're supposed to do it. But you actually don't have to. You can just take them all on by yourself. And I don't think you really get any increased rewards for doing so. Do you think you do or no?
I would say, like, I've tried doing solos on the control points, but it is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it'll be easier to call in the reinforcements.
Yeah, I don't know if you get more rewards from taking on solo here, so it's always worth it. So basically, when you enter the enemy territory, you have an option to shoot a flare up in the air. When you shoot that flare, your reinforcements will come in and assist you. And like Jared mentioned before, the NPCs in this game are actually pretty good. They shoot back, and I don't know how they survive as much as they do because they're wearing T-shirts and they're surviving bullets, but that's a different story. That's division logic. and and yeah, it's very fun because you go in, you have to kill all the enemies on the base, and then after that, another wave of enemies come in, and you have to defend it. And it's pretty nifty. I enjoy them. They're always worth doing,
Oh
and
yeah.
and that kind of just a new thing on the map. And there's also like public events that happen, like the question marks. You find question marks on the map, and there's like little public events you go do. So there's never you're never running out of things to do when you're running around. So that is one good benefit. Let's see. We covered that. We covered that. What else do we need to cover, Rock? Of why
Oh, I would like to say, because back in the Division One in New York, we had the underground system, and
underground
I gotta say,
system? I don't remember that.
what's it called? What's it called? Oh, we have somebody joining our little
I
podcast
forgot
here.
to private the party. Gosh dang, Frosty, you're not allowed. Quiet, Frosty.
Okay.
You're not allowed to speak.
Okay.
Be quiet. Oh, you got it. All right, continue onward, Rock. I didn't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so I want to talk about the underground system that we used to have back in Division One, but they brought it in again in Division Two. So going underground in Washington D.C., it's a maze, just like back in Division One in New York. Like we had the subway system back in Division One, but Division Two, it's more of a sewer system.
Mm-hmm.
For this one. And there is one reward that people have been hunting for a little while now since the start of the game. There is a thing called loot keys, which are or the faction keys they like to call it.
That's right, back in the main hub. Yeah, continue.
And so there's the different faction keys. So you have like just like the enemy factions, you got your True Sons keys, the Hyenas keys, and the Outcast keys, and maybe we'll have that other faction later on after level 30, basically. But anywho, you grab these keys, and they're pretty good for any of you that want to farm them. It's an easier chance to get them underground to find them. They look like fuse boxes on the walls of the sewers, and that's where you can find them. But it's really easy to farm them underground. But what you do with these keys is that throughout DC, apparently there's certain boxes from enemy factions, and they will tell you like, oh yeah, okay, there's a box right in front of me, a tiny one, which says like True Sons box, or the Hyenas box, or an Outskirts box. So you have to get specific keys, or the right key, which is basically if you want to open up a True Sons box, you have to get a True Sons key. So it's kind of like pretty self-explained.
Oh yeah, and yeah. I actually haven't really done any of that, so I'm still a newbie. All right, I did not just break everything. Everything's fine. So yeah, the boxes. The main reason why I want to do this podcast about this is to explain why I think this game is worth your money. And you know what? There's only been 2 looter shooters that I know of that, like, AAA games that have come in 2019 so far, and that's Anthem and Division 2. And of course, last week we didn't, or whenever this video goes up, the first BS cast was about Anthem and the problems with it, and there was a lot of problems with it. I still like it, but it almost feels unplayable how many problems it is. This game, on the other hand, and I have pretty crappy internet, but even this game I can play pretty frequently, pretty nicely. I can do solo. I can actually enter in the game, and that's what's good about it. And basically, I'm praising this game and saying it is. I think it's worth your money. And if you're thinking about buying a looter shooter and you're thinking between Anthem and Division 2 still, I think Division 2 should be worth your money. What do you think about that, Rock?
I would say yes, it is worth the $60.
Mhm.
Just buying the standard edition is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, very much fun. And you never there's still plenty of things to do, and us and honestly, like seeing all the monuments and stuff, and how the world has degraded. And that's another thing I can praise for Bungie, not Bungie, Ubisoft. My bad. Ubisoft for this is they actually get down like the streets and the buildings. They're like almost exactly accurate on everything. Of course, there's some things they can't put in because of, marketing and all that kind of stuff. But the buildings and the structures of everything are pretty spot on
Oh yeah,
on of the actual what the actual DC area looks like. So it's pretty nifty, if you ask me. And
oh yeah,
honestly, this game is worth your money, in my opinion, because of the fact that you can, of all the things you can do, all the loot. There's like tons of guns that you can lock too. And of course, each when you level up, the gun starts doing having more stats on it, doing different things. You can put mods on your gadgets, all that kind of stuff, and eventually you can unlock armor, right? That have a special attribute, kind of like in the first game. Am I right about
oh
that?
yeah. Yep, it's still the same system. Was it loot? Oh, not loot system, but armor systems. Like
So
they'll always have its perks.
yes, and like there's yellow. Yellow's like the highest, and then after that there's turquoise, and that's like it's yellow, but it actually if you get a full set of that, which is there's plenty of grinding you can do in this game, and you get a full set of this certain type of armor, and it gives you a special attribute towards a certain ability or something like that.
Yeah.
Example in the first game, I haven't seen any in this game, but in the first game, I'm pretty sure in the same system, you can get a armor set for your shield operator, have that all that armor on, and you could actually use an SMG with your shield, which is pretty awesome. I don't know what they have in this game though. That's different, but that's also one factor. My mouth is getting really dry. I should have brought some water with me, but my voice is probably cracking a lot because my throat is dry. But yeah, yeah, that's what we got. You want to add anything else, Rock, or you think we got covered everything? Why do you think this
Uh,
game is worth your money, in your opinion?
in my opinion, the reason why I would actually that I got this game is that I had a lot of fun in the first game, and I would say there was a lot of praise before even the game came out for Division 2. That they like people were saying like Ubisoft like finally listened to us for the first time, and it's just like for this game, and like they finally fixed everything. I'm like I was kind of skeptical at first. I was gonna wait a week until it came out, and I did. So just to wait on and for most of them they're positive. Some people were really negative about it, but most of them were positive, so I went for the positive side, and I'm actually glad I bought it.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm praising this game. It's very fun, especially after the Anthem fiasco. And honestly, they're still working on that game. But this game's launch was perfect. Not one
Oh yeah,
problem, in my opinion. Hold on, I'm gonna
yeah.
grab some water. I'm gonna die if I don't grab water. I'll be right back. Keep
Oh, go
talking,
ahead, go
Rock.
ahead.
Keep talking.
Okay. The next thing I want to kind of talk about, actually continuing with the activities, because there's more than just like the public events, basically for or the side missions or the main campaign. There is a thing called the more you leveled up to like maybe after level 25, there'll be things called strongholds, which are basically kind of like um, big landmarks in the regular world, not in the dark zone, but in the regular world, which basically have higher chances of kind of like getting you some pretty good loot for it. And I actually just got finished with one stronghold, which was at level 26 with the, and they even tell you like which faction is holding this stronghold. And there's some pretty good loot behind these strongholds.
How hard are they though?
And
I haven't even tried them yet. Not even in the first game. I even
they
tried them.
they're pretty hard, I gotta say. Even though you might be the same level as the stronghold, the enemies are pretty aggressive on you,
So
and
they'll kick your butt. All right.
yeah, to the point where they're like they'll run after you, kind of.
Wow. All right.
But but still, it's like the just like the dark War kind of objective to these strongholds.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's about 3 strongholds right now that we have currently, which is basically one that's called one that's in Capitol Hill, the ones I can name off the top of my head, which is Capitol Hill, and one called Roosevelt Island. And I
Roosevelt,
heard
yes.
and I heard Roosevelt Island is the biggest stronghold that we have right now, and which is being occupied by this enemy faction from the outskirts, like we mentioned earlier.
The fourth one,
And
or the third one, the third faction, or the fourth one.
that would be the third faction,
Okay, yes,
the one that you haven't encountered yet, Boar.
yes. All right, well,
But
continue.
I got to play a little bit of it before I even got into the podcast right now. Was that they can run after you. Actually, with this faction as the outskirts, they have suicide, and they will run after you and try to blow you up, and they take a chunk of your shield and health off.
So, suicide bombers. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, suicide bombers now
That's
is
always
kind of
fun.
yeah. Yeah, that's it is going to be annoying. There's going to be one, I forgot what they were called, but
Your
I think
voice
it
cut
was
out a lot there, but yeah. But getting on with it, the strongholds are kind of like the strikes in this game from like Destiny type of deal. If
yeah. For
anyone ever played Destiny, they're kind of similar to strikes. Your voice is cutting out a lot, Rock. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Hold on.
breaks everything.
All right, let me see. Did that work?
It sounds better. And then apparently we're
Okay.
getting a raid. Is it actually called a raid in this game, or is it called something else?
Yeah, they're actually calling it a raid, and Ubisoft has
And your voice lagged again. What do you say?
yes, the Ubisoft has claimed it to be a raid.
Yes. So yeah, basically this game in my eyes has replaced Destiny 2. I still play Destiny 2 and every now and then, but this game has replaced Destiny 2 in my heart. So looter shooter, fun, raids, strikes, all the fun stuff, open world, and completely open world, and there's fast traveling, all that kind of stuff. And I personally think this game is worth the amount they said it is, and it has good servers and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think this game is worth the $60 it is. And of course, if you want, you can wait for it to go on sale or something like that. But it's a very fun game on launch. It's very fun. Um, I believe they have a paid DLC policy, which I'm not a fan of, especially when Ubisoft they're basically heading the free DLC clause because of like For Honor and the big one, Rainbow Six Siege, free DLC type
Oh
of deal
yeah.
that they got going on with that. And I do nothing but praise Ubisoft for that program that they got going on. But sadly, I think this game is paid DLC, so it is what it is. But
Oh yeah.
I don't mind it too much though because it's a big game. It's a big game just by itself, and I'm probably going to buy the DLCs eventually. But
Oh yeah, definitely.
any last remarks there, Rook?
I would say just to add to the raid topic, which is very interesting. For the very first time, we get to hear a raid. Like for any of you that played like Destiny, for example, like we had raids, but it was only for 6 people. For this raid that's coming up for year 1 of the Division 2, we players for a
You
raid.
said 8 players. Your voice cut out, but continue on. It's fine. 8 players. You said. Continue on.
I seriously don't know how this is gonna work out, but I believe there's gonna be a lot of coordination for these raids.
It's going to be interesting, and luckily, I don't think they could do anything like they did back in Destiny, where some raids are like super complicated, and I'm not a big fan of the super complicated raids in Destiny. Like King's Fall, and any of you play Destiny. If you haven't played Destiny, you have no idea what I'm talking about. King's Fall and the new one, the Last Wish raid, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Like they're super complicated and they're super precise. I don't see him doing that at all in this one, but it might be an option. You never know. But yeah.
Yeah, well, that's another thing is that Ubisoft hasn't confirmed any information of like what we're gonna be encountering in the raid. or nobody has even leaked any information for the raid. So that's one thing.
It's going to be very interesting, to say the least. And you know
Yeah.
what? If this game is as successful as it is, they might add in even more raids in the future, which will be very, very cool. But
I believe, oh yeah, I was about to say, I believe it's going to be either in year one or year two DLC. It's going to be another raid. But this is going to be, it's going to be very interesting how this is going to play out for all Division players. And
yeah, yeah. Like this game is basically just Division 1 2.0. It's all it is. It's Division 1.
yeah.
It's a sequel to the other game, but they added in new things and all that kind of stuff. It's not like I don't know a good example of game. It's not like the Castlevania series where the second game is like so much different than the first game, or Legend of Zelda or anything. It's basically the same game, but with added benefits and new stuff to play around with. So that's always good.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, what any last remarks? I know I said that once already, but anything else to say?
That's about it. I think we did pretty good coverage.
We covered everything. I thought it was only going to be a 30-minute podcast, but I think we're around 45 minutes now. But it was still good, at least. Thank you very much, Rock, for coming and joining me.
Hey, no problem.
Once again, do you want to plug in anything where they can find you or anything like that?
If you want to, my name is Jared Martinez, but my username on PlayStation is RockMyWorld1000. It's all one name. Please, I'm actually right now trying to find a team to play with right now in the division, or maybe a clan I could join. Because eventually when this raid comes out, I would love to find people that are really coordinated together, and just see from there on and see what we can do.
And you know what? We might start our own raid. I think we can do that, Rock, and then build
Oh
up from
yeah,
there.
eventually, me and you, Boar, we can do that. Or we can start up our own clan.
That'd be great. But yep, that's basically what it is. And thank you all for coming and joining me. The next podcast, the next topic on the podcast, if you guys want to come for that, is we're going to be talking about Shadows Die Twice, and I'm going to invite one or two buddies for that. Persia, well, Hybrid Spectrum, the last guy that was in the last podcast, will be in it. And also another buddy will be in it. I'll have to see if I can get him in there. But we'll be talking about Shadows Die Twice and how that is super fun and super, super hard. But thank you all for thank you all for joining, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Say goodbye,
Bye
Rock.
bye.
Bye bye. You gotta end it off, man. Play a song or something. Play a song.
I don't have my guitar.
Sing. You gotta do it. All right. Cut.